Alright, I said we'd be back, and here we are again just one night after the last one. I feel like I owe you guys more effort. I'm not doing anything else too serious at the moment, so yeah, I think it's the least I can do, and this is really not a chore. We're back on Pikmin. I love this game. What excuse do I have to not share it with people and to not share myself, since yeah, as I was saying in the description, I didn't think a lot of the last video I made, but I was very, very pleased to hear that several of you liked it enough to comment, even though I wasn't feeling good about it. That felt quite good. Some of you must really like what I'm doing, if even these kind of messed up videos where I'm just sort of screwing around, doing whatever, things don't go right. Yep, we're not doing the separate channel audio, we'll just hope this works out tonight. Yeah, if you all liked what we were doing last time, then that's great. This will just be a kind of, this is very much for my sake, this video. It's just to keep the habit up of doing these things and just showing you stuff if you just simply like me, and that's enough to make a pleasing video. Well, here I am, and we'll just do this for you. And yeah, I didn't really come in with fixed ideas of what to talk about tonight, so as well as that, it's Pikmin, which is a game which moves at its own pace whether you're on board or not, so maybe I'll actually tonight just play a damn game and you just watch a little bit. Yeah, I know you like me talking if you're watching this channel, and don't worry, I'm sure I will I'll get on something very soon. And yeah, we're just back on Pikmin. I'm sure you watch the other ones if you care enough to keep up with everything I'm doing, and yeah, just a very nice game. We're back in this opening area. I've got my blue guys over there, and yeah, I'm pretty sure the last video ended with me getting them, and there's just a bit more stuff to do in this opening area, so bring these guys along and do all this stuff. Yeah, really just nothing to say if you can believe it, but yeah, just watch me find a prompt and completely forget that I'm playing a video game. But anyway, what are we doing right now? We're just piling up these guys and gathering like 3 things that are left in this area. This should be a very low-stress day. Pikmin's not really a stressful game unless you're like, you know, if you're a kid and you're less game savvy, you have less of that meta knowledge of how to do things, and you know, this came out in like 2001, people would be less savvy in general, I'd imagine then. Sorry, I need to remember which button brings up my map. There it is. There's one over there, one up there, and one out there. Excellent. Yeah, it's just very easy to think of. Sorry, what was I saying? Yeah, it's a relatively easy, low-stress game that's just very fun to mess around with. For me now, it was a game that I found it vaguely challenging for one playthrough, which was on the Wii when I first played this, and now it's just a very fun thing for me. So, yeah, I find editing and such very stressful. Really, it's not hard though, don't feel bad for me, I'm just an idiot who doesn't do things much. But, yeah, this is much easier. This is a significant reason why I started doing the videos this way, was just because, yeah, I can more easily will myself up to actually do something if I just hit the button on OBS and then play a game that I like for a while, and yeah, then we just do this, and in like an hour I'll have something up on the channel, and for those of you who like the stuff that I do, yeah, I hope you enjoy that. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted talking about this boring meta stuff now. I should be actually showing you the game that you're interested in. Or if you're interested in me thinking about things, I should find something interesting to talk about, so let's just play with this and see what comes of it. As I was saying about difficulty, Pikmin is a game that I think has a very high ceiling in terms of how well you can play it, but I really appreciate that there's no reason to, but it's so cool that people just do that anyway. It's a game which it's fun to watch other people play. The way people mess around with this game, I may have said before that I think speedruns are stupid, and that what's interesting is basically watching someone play a game interestingly, and that is incidentally what speedruns are a lot of the time. Pikmin has great challenge runs where They don't go for speed because we're all bound to the day clock, so you can only really do so much within that. What people do instead, which I find very interesting, is going for minimum day runs in this game, and maybe you can imagine how that would work already. The idea is basically that there's only so much you can do in a given day of Pikmin. You land on each planet and try to grab everything and leave, and of course the ideal way to play the game would be grab everything in each area in one day if possible, and then just, yeah, beat the game in like 6 or so days. I forget what exactly it is, but yeah, that's what speedruns of Pikmin look like. They are very, very interesting, and there are people who clear this area, this whole forest area, I believe, in one day just using the red Pikmin and the yellow ones that you find. You can get over there where we just were without blues, because I may have already shown you this. Pikmin don't... It's not like old Grand Theft Auto where they die upon contact with water. Instead, what happens is... It's quite cool. What happens is you throw a Pikmin who's red or yellow into water and he starts drowning, and he'll still try to swim to safety or swim to you if you whistle at him. And the way to get red or yellow Pikmin across that water gap to where I use the blues to knock the bridge open is you throw them like halfway between the next mass of land and where you currently are. Then you run to the other side and whistle them across, and by doing that you can just get them over the line and get them to hammer that bridge out for you. Then you leave them there doing that, run all the way across the rest of the level doing every other thing it needs doing. And yeah, just by messing around with stuff like that, you can clear this whole area in one day, and yeah, just there's some kind of strained technique like that you can do for every part of the game, and yeah, you can beat Pikmin in like 6 in-game days. Like the amount of time I've spent so far, you can be basically done by now if you're good enough, if you know the whole thing. I find that kind of metagaming very interesting. Like Resident Evil, for example, is another really interesting game where if you know it well, it actually leads to interesting interactions with the game rather than just like some fucking sped just like walking into a wall until they clip forward to the end of a level over and over again. That's what a lot of technically skilled gaming looks like, and I think it's just ugly and pointless and miserable. As you can see, that wasn't very skilled, but you know, because I know this game pretty well, I'm perfectly fine with just losing a whole bunch at it. This is how I relax. I'm very reckless with my Pikmin, and I get them all killed, and it's just very funny. This is a really, really funny game. That's something we could talk about. Humor in video games. Not many make me laugh. Now and then one does. Not so much are there funnily written games, maybe in bits and pieces, but what I find more impressive, generally across all media, is I think the kind of literary or verbal humor gets kind of old. Like, you know, it's the same thing everywhere. Writing a game that's funny, it's basically a movie that's funny. You know, they're doing the same thing, whereas being funny in a way that works in a game... I wish I had an example off the top of my head. Oh, I got one. And before I get into that, just using the strengths of a medium in general to be funny, I always find very impressive when something actually makes me laugh without just, you know, saying something funny. And the example that came to my mind was, again, I just mentioned Resident Evil, but God Hand and Resident Evil 4. Shinji Mikami is a really funny guy, or he has really funny people working for him. I imagine it's a bit of both. But an example of like game humor is just... how do I even put this? Like, Pikmin is funny to me, and just the subtleties of how these things sound, the way they look and react, the way that they get like flung and explode and they do this weird chittery scream as they die. That's all very amusing to me. It's, you know, it's a kind of reactive freeform cartooning, I kind of want to say. There are a lot of ways we could describe this, but sorry, let me quickly grab these guys. I have another blue job to do. That's kind of how this area works. You can do most of it without blues easily, and then the remaining few things, you don't absolutely need blues, but you're probably gonna need them. Now, how in the world does the guy get up here in the speedrun? I don't even remember. Maybe you throw them up there and kind of hook them around with his commands. I'm really not sure, but yeah, there are some really brilliant people who play this game in a way which fascinates me, and yeah, rather than talking about that, I should just say, if you find Pikmin the game kind of mechanically, the challenge it offers interesting, look up a minimum days run, or like a few of those, or like over time, of course, they got better at it. Look at what playing Pikmin really well looks like relative to me just kind of messing around and almost playing it like I would have as a kid. Like, this is me just no stress, just playing with it like I do Halo in these videos, just I want to show it off and mess around with it and relax a bit. And I am having a good time, so I really should be giving you guys like a video every day since some of you are such fans, and it's so easy for me once I get rolling. I'm just bad at getting rolling with things, but yes, as I was saying, this game makes me laugh, and God Hand makes me laugh, where characters do say funny things in that game, but it's more the context where you're in this bizarre muscle mag macho world and guys run up to you with these goofy voices quoting Mike Tyson at you. I'm brutal and ruthless. Again, that ties into something I was saying in the last video, which I wrote about in the comments, but if you don't read those, it got lost. I was talking about how the voice acting in Resident Evil, I believe, is very much done for effect, because the first thing that I said was, in his next game a year later, Dino Crisis, the voice acting is very good and like nails a lot of subtle like intonations and intentions which are meant to be kind of beyond bad video game voice acting. Like, if they're so bad that they made the Resident Evil dub like immediate jump in quality over a year, where like the Dino Crisis dub is like the best standard quality of like 90s anime dubbing out of nowhere, and yeah, if you believe that they genuinely sucked when they did Resident Evil, that begs some kind of explanation. But as far as I know, nobody has actually written about this or asked him, so I can't say for sure. It's just a hunch that I have, and yeah, just more of a sign that something is going on there. Just God Hand is another game which has really strong humor, very strong English performances, and you know, a pretty decently nuanced understanding of what an English speaker would find funny, and a kind of informed grip on Western humor as well. How do I even put that? I almost just want to summarize it as saying that God Hand is very well written. It's very simple, but like, it's funny, it understands what would be funny, and yeah, getting back into what I was saying, it kind of works a lot of physical comedy in, where some of the fighting moves that you can execute are really funny to look at, and as well as that, you grab a few off of that. I didn't mean for that many. Come on, I want to get them both back. There we go. I didn't realize, but we've burned a whole Pikmin day. Time flies because we're having so much fun, and I've said almost nothing. But anyway, God Hand, yes, it's a game that really would be better for me to show you. Maybe I will at some point. I'm pretty sure I still have the save file. I beat it in a PlayStation 2 emulator. There's a lot of interesting stuff that could be said about God Hand. Why don't we talk about that even though we're playing Pikmin? Silly Anthony, you always do this. But anyway, pardon me. What I was saying is just, God Hand makes me laugh without just writing at me like a nerd. It's no Hollywood reject thing. It's a funny, ridiculous, kind of macho parody world, and it's more the logic of how everything works, where it's this combination of macho culture and what I guess you would call like arcade game logic, which it's just extremely funny watching that play out and seeing the things that Mikami thought of, and yeah, just watching that game do its thing is extremely funny, just like in the same way that I find Pikmin doing its thing extremely funny. Wait, what I should do is I should take more Pikmin out so it doesn't shoot as many seeds. If you aren't sure what I just did there, it's going to spit seeds until it gets up to 100 and then keep the rest, and I don't know if I'll actually have time to pick all the new growing Pikmin before the end of the day. And I don't think we have to come back here, so they might just sit in the ground for the rest of this save file, which isn't really a problem. Gee, I did lose a few, didn't I? But But yes, just in terms of things which have impressed me within their own lines, using the strengths of their medium, just, like, not by writing at me, how do I put it, like, there are certain manga which I find funny, which, what's kind of interesting to me is, I don't know if there are Western comics that I've actually, like, laughed out loud at, but there are a decent number of manga I've laughed at, like, Go Nagai, I think, is one of my favorite mangakas, or whatever you call them, for various reasons, but yeah, in addition to Devilman just being very beautiful and compelling, it actually has made me laugh, and I think especially Devilman Lady I found funny at various points, and there's a manga recommendation I haven't written on the forum or anything for you, but one which I feel very strongly about. A lot of people I know have read Devilman now. It got that anime produced by Netflix, which was actually very, very good. That was called Devilman Crybaby. The thing about Devilman Crybaby was that it was kind of for fans of Devilman and Nagai in general, and its plot was a very, very well done kind of combination of several Devilman pieces of media, and I think the main place it would have taken other ideas from was Devilman Lady, and yeah, the original Devilman Lady manga is a lot longer than the original one, and it's kind of a weird spin-off reiteration of the story. It's doing a lot of strange stuff. The guy has a very interesting relationship with his own past works, and yeah, Devilman Lady, it's very long. It basically gives him room to stretch his legs and have fun with the premise, doing basically everything he probably would have wanted to do at some point in the original, but you know, it's a very sharp and fast story, which I like. This is the drawn-out kind of leisurely, having fun Devilman. Anyway, there's just, as I was saying, if you want a manga which will make you laugh in a manga way, just like how he draws, how things play out, that's funny. Another one is Stop Hibari-kun. I laugh at that manga. It's very, very funny, even if it has been claimed by an unfortunate audience now. We can't really help that, but it's very good stuff. But the one I really wanted to recommend this minute, just because I remembered it, is Devilman Lady. I had such a great time reading that manga. It was a while back now. I almost want to read it again now, but I had a really, really good time with that one. I just want to say that while it's on my mind. Okay, Forest of Hope done. There's one more in that starting area, and then we go to the scary Forest Naval area again. Why don't we do this nice, safe starting area just a bit more, and then we'll call the video there, but this is just an excuse for me to talk and technically be doing something. Here's something I could put to you people, answer in the comments if you care. I'm pretty sure I did like the minimum registration, you just have to like give 24 hours notice. I did that ages ago, that what was I saying? Setting up streaming on YouTube, would there be any interest in paying attention to that? I don't know, it's like, my thinking is it would basically be an even easier way to just collect footage and have it there. The idea being I just talk onto YouTube and then it's there and I don't have to worry about it. And if any of you are interested in the things I have to say and the games I might be showing off, my thinking is that you could basically keep me on track and I could answer questions as they come up rather than writing essays in the comments. Though I do enjoy doing that. Do you like reading my comments? I really enjoyed answering the points raised in the last one. I appreciate the comments a lot, and yeah, basically if you put effort into replying to me, I will put effort back into replying to you, because yeah, it's basically what I'm on the internet for. What the hell is the point if no one's gonna talk about anything? It's genuinely hard to get those guys to walk up a ramp in this game. But yeah, so streaming, that's something I had considered. Just basic YouTube streams, which would basically be like this, but with you guys watching at the same time I'm making them. Again, that's just something that makes me laugh, the way these little yellow guys like drop them and run away. It's kind of like real-time cartooning. That's something I don't think gets talked about a lot, that video games are like a great platform for cartooning, and they can basically do what animated movies are trying to do, but better. And I think really cartooning is a tradition which has collapsed very hard in the first world, which is... I mean, not the first, what am I saying? I mean the basically English-speaking world. And, like, who's left? That, like, Gendy Tartakovsky artist guy who's really into his stuff. I watched a behind-the-scenes thing of those sad little Hotel Transylvania movies that he has to do to keep the lights on. If you didn't know, those are him. And what I found interesting and kind of sad is that they were like genuinely trying to do physical cartooning in CGI, like they were thinking about movement and making things look nice and expressive, but my thinking was just that, like, on its own, it's just not that fascinating to watch like a 3D model contort and move around, but yeah, I think I'm having fun watching the Pikmin move, and I think the kind of deciding factor is just that combine the fact I'm interacting and it's all just much more novel, like the things that could be happening in any given moment. Would you be interested in this if it was a movie, just this scenario of like these little silly plant people trying to jump inside a clam? Ooh, we didn't lose any of them. My thinking is probably not. Nintendo actually did. I remember it was like a gimmick tie-in for the 3DS. They made these little like animated shorts starring the Pikmin, and yeah, I think the Pikmin are very charming and funny to look at just as characters, but yeah, you take away the game scenarios that they're in and the kind of absurd spontaneity of these events that we're setting up here, and it just kind of becomes a bit sad, just another like variation on the Minions or the Rabbids where, yeah, it's just a silly thing. Okay, he's not going to do that? Oh, yeah, he is. This is a very clever game that doesn't get enough credit for stuff like that. Like, I didn't know that was a thing, I just thought to test it now, and yeah, you can just bomb the clams from a distance with yellow ones. That's that kind of like... Have I mentioned that I consider this game a strong relative of Breath of the Wild? I probably did at some point. Just Pikmin is very cool in that it's that like old GameCube philosophy of, hey, like how much like weird new stuff is possible now, and yeah, the Pikmin are that very much sad, neglected field of video game stuff where it's like, okay, let's render more entities and have them behave more intelligently. And because that's not something that can just like scale up linearly, of course this is something I'm sure I've talked about a billion times, probably... Did I really never get that tip until now? Anyway, what I was saying is that it's probably something I've said a lot in relation to Halo, that like, making clever, behaving, intelligent, and alive entities in a video game is just like not touched upon at all as something like worth doing, that we should be like pushing people to do better in, because yeah, it's just something we can't track and that we haven't really given a good name to, so yeah, in the mind of the gamer it doesn't exist. Like, people will say like, oh, how's its AI, and that really just never satisfied me. Like, obviously AI is just a dumb thing to say in pretty much every circumstance. Like, these little Pikmin following me, they do not possess qualia, I don't think. Maybe they do. If they do, that would make this quite cruel what I'm doing, but no, I'm pretty sure it's just... Again, that's the thing, like, if I don't call it AI, what do I describe? How do I describe what this game is doing? You may have seen me say in various contexts when someone is frustrating me that if something is coming out stupid, we should try to basically rephrase it from scratch. How do you talk about it without using the language you've been given to talk about it? So in this particular case, that would be, how do we talk about AI without saying AI? Just for the sake of a mental exercise, we declare the term AI off limits. Is it still possible to talk about this? What do we say? And yeah, just if I look at this and think about what's happening, if I look at what is appealing right now and what is happening, I'm looking at these little Pikmin. Yeah, what is the game doing? How do we give this a name and compare different games that are capturing this appeal? Am I going to call them all AI-driven games? That sounds very... Doesn't it just sound wrong? It's, I like words like entities, reactivity, but also actors, I think is a very good one. Like, there are a few references in the commentary of Halo, I forget which one it is, but where they're playing the first game. Joseph Staten, the guy who directed the cutscenes in the first game, that's a very interesting role he had directing them, in that he was... That doesn't just mean like, oh, he was the guy who like wrote them or like decided what would happen in them. They're all done in-engine, so he was the guy who had to actually physically make the game behave in the right way to make those events play out. And if you think of it that way, like, he really was like a guy whose job was to figure out how to wrangle virtual actors and also virtual cameras and such, but that's not the question at hand. What interests me is this idea of virtual actors and how they behave, and this is basically... I like to think of this as something less like AI in the sense of like, oh, we've made a world and intelligent actors exist within it. No, I think it's more accurate to say like, just actors is the term, and I guess that's... Rather than AI acting, I want to say something more like actors who are intelligent. I feel like that's a better description of what games are doing and what they should be aiming for, and yeah, just think of it as like every... Again, back to the idea of like Joe Staten was the director of Halo, like think of what's going on now as a kind of a free-form, spontaneous scene where, yeah, just how good are the actors at responding to circumstances that come their way. I didn't come into this video with an idea of, like, specifically how I would phrase this. I didn't even know I would talk about this at all, but how that's gone so far, I'm actually pretty happy with the mental progress. I think that, yes, in going forward in these questions of AI behavior in games, what's fun and interesting and so on, I think I'm going to call them actors, and I think I'm going to describe what they do as acting. Into the yellow one, I think we need more of them. That's it, good guys. The way they work, it's something the remakes and I think the sequel did really well. As it is in the original release of the game, like you just get that red and blue number above them. They take the thing to the onion, the little Pikmin spacecraft, based on how many of them of each color are carrying. The one with the most color wins. In the sequels, the numbers above them change color to the type of Pikmin who has kind of won the carry contest. Gee, I really messed up getting those guys up here. Oh, there's like one pearl. Let's look for what else there is. We're on 460 Pikmin right now. That's pretty good. Got that bulb guy out from under there. Go! Oh, it's not good to lose him down there. I'll have to remember that I lost them. But yeah, acting. I think of a game like Halo or a game like Pikmin as a game which has very good virtual actors. They're very just... They're entities that exist in this world, which I know is not real. Just a brief note on something I've said a lot. You know, immersion is not real. Everyone who talks about that can shut up, but... In this kind of like scene we play out, kind of, if we want to talk about like metaphors and how to talk about things, I could talk about pathologic. Oh dear. Speaking of things which are funny and kind of virtual cartooning, what just happened there? Did you see how the clam even chews them after it gets them? Yeah, this is very funny, isn't it? But yeah, sorry, what I was saying, I kind of think the stage analogy of Pathologic, those games, is very good, where this is kind of a virtual stage and we're kind of the actor and director kind of... If you think of it as like a theater production, like every video game is like a weird meta production where like someone gets pulled out of the audience and can kind of guide things within certain lines. I'm not saying this is something we have to elaborate on at length, it's just me, again, further indulging the acting thought. Is this even going to be worth it? I have lost so many of these poor guys. Come on. Nope. Did you find that funny? I did. I think this game is absolutely hilarious. Yeah, just why do I fixate on games like this and Halo where you have little guys running around and doing stuff? I just think that the possibilities of virtual actors and just basically wrangling these weird reactive scenes full of these silly digital actors or puppets, whatever we want to call them, just the range of things you can do with them, and just the possibility for just the entertaining possibilities of someone intelligently building them up to, you know, just more stuff is not good. Funny reactions are good, just interesting reactions are good. Good things are good. It's a whole kind of I want to get back into that idea of form now, which I raise a lot. This idea of, it's another just field of possibilities, a spread of possibilities, programming virtual actors or entities where I'm hesitant to just talk about, I'm frustrated by talk of things like good AI, like what is good AI? It's immersing me, it's convincing me it's real, that's idiotic. Good is interesting and entertaining, and that isn't necessarily good. Like, there are countless games where things act in dumb or absurd ways, and that is very funny. Like the Pikmin, they just go idle if I'm not ordering them. They don't have self-preservation. One could say like, oh, well, that makes thematic sense because they're these helpless, retarded aliens that need Olimar. Like, yeah, maybe, but they also did that because, you know, limitations of making a game and also just interesting possibilities are created by this limitation, like all limitations in art and media. If the Pikmin acted one way, that would create certain possibilities and cut off others, and yeah, if they act another way, that creates more possibilities and cuts off others, and, you know, simpler or more complex, there is no right way to do this, and the intelligent way to do this is one which is, you know, first consideration should be, can you do it? Which is where every, like, Western PC simulation game kind of dumbly chasing this appeal, which I'm talking about, but not understanding how, goes wrong. Of course, like, what can you do? And then there's, of course, what will be entertaining, what will work well as a game, and also just, you know, something to look at in action. And Pikmin is just a really brilliantly thought out balance of, like, well, you can see they were pushing hard to do, like, as much as possible and feel like this game was doing things that weren't possible before. But at the same time, they've drawn very intelligent lines where, like, it doesn't feel like Pikmin grew like cancer, where they added stuff until they hit a wall and then just petered out. Instead, it feels very much like they considered the limits of how the Pikmin can and cannot act in every circumstance, and yeah, again, like, the way they act does actually make sense with how they're written and characterized. It works well as a game, and as I've been going into, it's just really funny to watch them and play with them. It's really brilliantly done like that, and how many games could I really describe as in this way and saying that they nail this specific kind of appeal? Not many. The ones that immediately come to mind are this, Halo Combat Evolved, and the first Dead Rising. That's pretty much it. And yeah, naturally, the first two aren't really remembered for that, they're just remembered by idiots for meme terminology. And then the third title in question, Dead Rising, is just remembered as a terrible game in many ways. Well, it's kind of remembered as good, but in silly warehouse ways. Mandalore will inevitably make a video about it, and it will be very Mexican and warehoused and forklifted and silly, and he will say that it's a shame the AI is so bad. Well, again, just like, tell me what's bad about the AI in Dead Rising without saying AI. It's, yeah, just where I was going, to put it simply, is those are the three games that I really think have these kind of very intelligently implemented and character-rich virtual actors, and yeah, two of them are recognized as good, but not really for this, and the third is recognized as a good game, but it's considered, this element which I love so much, which keeps bringing me back to it, is considered its great weakness, because people are idiots. I may have mentioned before I want to show off Dead Rising, maybe I'll do that soon, we'll see. Might even be a fun stream game, I don't know. Many things that you could give me opinions on if you'd like to, if you like leaving comments. I like reading them, I appreciate it a lot. I expected pretty much nothing to come of the last video. Getting those 4 or so comments overnight was very nice, and yeah, just, again, if you leave them, I'll reply to them. It makes me very happy seeing them, and I hope these videos please you. It was nice doing this one. I went in with no idea what I might be doing, and I'm very happy with how this has gone. I'm going to hit stop now, and I really hope this has all come out well.